So this video is in response to Truth, Love, Grace on an Exjw channel. And he's talking about New World Order, End Times, Bible prophecy, things like that. So the channel that you recommended, it has some things that are true, but some things that are not. For example, I think that you kind of have to take things back to the beginning. We currently are in a welfare state, and the government can't pay its debts. That's the reality. Right now, we take about $4 trillion. Our budget is about $4 trillion, and we only take in about $3 trillion in taxes. So right down there, we're having $1 trillion worth of worth of debt, on top of we have unpaid liabilities that are just endless. It's hard to even imagine the amount of debt. So what debt does is just passes down. It's really slavery that you pass down to your children. So where did all this debt come from? Well, it's really because people have voted for unsustained liabilities for decades. So why did they do that? Well, it's hard to get into individuals, but right now, let's talk about the election for a second. We have two opposing sides. One obviously is Trump, and the other side is the Black Lives Matter, the riots, the lockdown, and all that they represent. Really, what it is this is all Marxism. That's really a stem of communism. See, communism is a religion disguising. It is a religion that is disguising as an economic system. People truly believe in this pure egalitarian point of view, and the reality is that there's no one equal. And communism only leads to death. It gives people no incentives to work. So these people really believe in what they're saying. So that's why they look at China as the model. How China got rid of the virus is really from killing people that that got the virus. That's how they stopped it. So they killed it and destroyed any evidence, killed them and destroyed any evidence of that. China's in a very authoritarian government, and that's the reality of the things. But these people are so in bed with this that they don't like the idea of individual freedom. And overall, if you thought the 2016 election was Trump versus Hillary, then you're absolutely wrong. The election was globalism versus nationalism, and there's been a rising of right, conservative, Bible enthusiasts, Christians, nationalists. That's happening all over the world. Whether you're talking Maduro, not Maduro, Duterte, you're talking Bolsonaro, who's that guy from Denmark? Anyway, so the point is that conservatism, nationalism has been rising, and that's a good thing. But what has happened in recent times is this globalism is spreading like a virus. They're very upset that Donald Trump was not supposed to win the 2016 election. The globalists did not like that at all. And that's why they've been fighting him ever since he got elected. Everything from the impeachment to, I don't know, they take ridiculous sides on everything. If you look at the coronavirus, I mean, the numbers are just ridiculously stupid. The CDC just released the actual numbers of people who died strictly of the coronavirus itself, and 94% of all deaths had some sort of other conditions. For example, they also included things like accidents, gunshot victims, suicides, stage 4 cancer, heart disease, all those things they included with coronavirus deaths. So the actual number that of people who only strictly died of the coronavirus is about 9,000. On top of that, the average age, the stat says that 94% of all coronavirus deaths were in the ages of 65 and higher. Only ages 21 to 64, they were only 6%, and 0 to 21, they basically are a fraction of they're a fraction of a percentage, so it's not even qualified. Now, these are stats that you can just get directly from the CDC website. So if the coronavirus really only affects old people, and only people with comorbidity, or I can't remember how to pronounce that, why do they have still on lockdown? Well, really, it's control, and you can see these people are buying into these things. The Democrat governors, the extreme ones, like the one in Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer, or there's a couple other ones I can't remember off the top of my head. They want more government control, more lockdown. Why? Because they're all in with getting rid of Donald Trump. Why is Donald Trump represents nationalism? He's anti-communism. That's what they ultimately want. They look at China as the model. The media never criticizes China for that specific reason. So I would say the question is, how did we get here? Well, if you really, it's kind of long and complicated, but you can really look to the boomers, and you can look to women as a whole. Well, in general, modern women have aborted the future for more government cheese. Women, in general, vote for security. They overwhelmingly vote Democrat. Why? Because of the welfare state. They replace their husbands with the government. They essentially marry the government. That's been the war on poverty, and this is just a basic gist of these things. So feminism has always been about giving women rights without responsibility. For example, when men got the right to vote, when men got the right to vote, they had to sign up for the draft. Where when women got the right to vote, they didn't have to do anything. They just had to have a vagina. So that's kind of where we're at. We're at a point where we don't look at the world as who's contributing. We look at the world is in rights. You have the right to do this, you have the right to that. And everybody has this egalitarian view of the world that everyone is exactly the same. And the reality is no one is exactly the same. Everyone has their own strengths and weaknesses. How we can tie this in the Bible? Well, it's very clear as far if you look in Isaiah 3:12, it talks about it's kind of laughable. It talks about how women and children will rule over us. That's really what's happening right now. We're seeing women and children rule over us. Men are no longer men. Women are no longer women. So the idea of a family, the nuclear family, is being destroyed. Well, actually, it has been destroyed. So you can look at what the sides that people are in currently. You can see that overall the conservatives, the Christians, what have you, on one side, and they all support Trump. And then you look at the abortionists, the homosexuals, the pedophiles, and they're trying to normalize pedophilia. If you obviously that new movie or that new show on Netflix, Cuties. Yeah, I mean, just read the reviews of it. I wouldn't recommend you watch it, but read the review. It's pedophilia. It's pornography, and they're trying to normalize. That, and that's one side, and the other side is nationalism, conservatism, and going back to Christian values. And that's what we're facing right now. That's why this election's pretty important. What do I think will happen? It's hard to say. It could go both ways. I really think that Trump will probably win in a landslide voting day. But what's going to happen, and it's pretty evident because it's what what they're talking about is through this mail-in ballot that they're trying to normalize not knowing the president, and in months, in weeks, it's going to take weeks to calculate the mail-in ballots. That's why they had to keep the coronavirus scare going, because they want to promote the idea that no one can go to the polls because of this coronavirus, that everybody's gonna die. No, this is about control, and so what's going to happen? So eventually, and it could go both ways. It could be that Joe Biden gets in, and let's face it, Joe Biden has mental issues, so it's probably he's got Alzheimer's. So it's really going to be Kamala Harris, who is an extreme identitarian. She's pretty far left on pretty much everything, pretty anti everything that you possibly, and the left is anti-God, so it is communist. So that could be what happened. As far as Bible prophecy, it's hard to know. Those are so unclear. I think it's silly to bring up these prophecies, because there's just no way that you can predict it. The Bible specifically, it has a lot of different prophecies, and you can interpret different ways. And no, I'm not going to make any predictions, because the reality is, the Bible talks about that no one would know. It comes on a thief in the night. So the goal is to rely on Jesus. Jesus saves. Jesus will protect you. You have to put your faith in Jesus and understand that He's ultimately in control. And you have to understand that. And if the United States falls, then it's possible. This could be end of the empire. There's no guarantee. The idea that we're in the last days, it really doesn't. There's no real pandemic or these earthquakes or whatever. There's not as much as there's times other time periods. It's not even close to being the Dark Ages. So on top of that, we have more food than ever before. It is not even close to being any of those things that Jesus mentioned. Is it possible? Consider the fall of the United States as similar to the fall of Rome. No one really conquered Rome, so just the collapse of it, and that had to do with the welfare state also. So, will we go back to? Will we go? And the reality, let me just say this. Also, along the lines of this, the other reason why Donald Trump got elected was specifically because of immigration. And the reason why immigration was such an important thing is because these women are not having babies because of feminism, because we need more taxpayers. It's short-sighted, but we need babies to fund the liabilities that we have, these unsustainable liabilities. And without babies, then we can't have that. But people are not having babies at replacement level. So what do? You import the world's poor. Well, that's backfired because now the world's poor are demanding more welfare, and it's an endless cycle of debt. So, will Trump get elected? I mean, who knows? It's hard to say. I mean, I think he will landslide. I think there's much more support than there is for any Democrat candidate right now. And people are sick of being on lockdown, and they're sick of the Black Lives Matter protests. But I do think that if Trump gets reelected, I don't know. I think we bought ourselves 4 more years. I don't think the problems with the United States are just too great. There's just no way to fix the welfare state. Trump tried to do it by increasing the economy, but let's just face it, there is a lot of insiders in the government that do not want the welfare state, the military-industrial complex to go away. I mean, let's just face it, Trump has probably been the most peaceful president that we've had. I don't know. It's hard to say. It's hard to know. It's been quite a while. And as soon as what has been the globalist reaction to? Trump? Well, they hate him. They absolutely hate him because he's trying to pull trips out of Syria, trying to end endless wars. It's silly, but it is what it is. Do I know what's going to happen? No, but you have to put faith in Jesus and Jesus. And there's no guarantee. Here's the other thing: don't look at biblical prophecies to specifically answer. There's no guarantee that this Daniel prophecy or anything like that is talking about the United States. There's just no. I mean, that's how Jehovah's Witnesses think. They think they're so stuck in the concept. Sure, you can theorize, but there's no guarantee. Prophecies are not really made clear until it happens. So I hope that answered your question. I'd like to discuss things more, and let me know if you want to talk. Okay, have a good day. Bye.